Welcome to Population and Ecosystem Investigation 10, Natural Selection. This investigation teaches students about the mechanism that produces change in the genetic makeup of a population. This investigation is made up of three parts. Part 1, Selective Pressure. Students learn that environmental factors put selective pressure on populations. Part 2, Change over time. Students learn that natural selection is the process by which the individuals best adapted to their environment tend to survive and pass their traits to subsequent generations. Part 3, Larky Natural Selection. Students revisit Part 1, but this time they use a computer simulation. They can quickly breed 6 generations of larkies and observe the phenotypes and genotypes of the resulting population. Depending on where your students are at in their understanding of larky genetics, this part can be combined and used in Part 1. At the end of this investigation, students should be able to describe how selective pressure can affect the genetic makeup of a population, explain how the traits expressed by the members of a population can change naturally over time, and provide examples to clarify ideas. As always, behind the tab, there is the at-a-glance outline for each investigation. Remember to read through it thoroughly, as this will help to guide you in your understanding of the investigation. Investigation 10, Part 1, Selective Pressure. Engage students by telling them a story about a yammer of larkies. This story can be found in the teacher's guide. Next, review population change. Tell students that they will breed the larkies in new environments to see what will happen to the populations. If you feel that your students understand larky genetics well enough to bypass the classroom simulation using the allele tiles, then consider having them go directly to the computer simulation. Make sure that you have previewed the simulation ahead so that you can decide how to sequence the parts to meet your student needs. Divide your class in half, assigning one half to the prairie yammer and the other half to the forest yammer. Describe the rules by projecting Transparency 33, prairie and forest survival rates. Outline the rules for survival in the two populations of larkies. Because I will bypass the class simulation, I've taken the prairie and forest larky breeding results sheet and the natural selection larky sheets and combined them to use for computer simulation, data collection, and analysis. Have students go to the multimedia site Natural Selection. Make sure they read the pages as they appear and take time to discover all the features and sources of information incorporated into the program. Be certain that students understand how to navigate prior to beginning the assignment. Remind students that they need to use the student sheet to collect information about the yammer of larkies. Once students have completed the multimedia simulation, review features and traits that affect survival. Next, have students analyze the data. Introduce selective pressure using the teacher's guide to conduct a mini lecture. Discuss selective pressure by connecting the larkies and the walking sticks. Assess progress using the response sheet Natural Selection. This can also be assigned as homework. In Part 2, Change Over Time, Session 1, plan to use the video Voyage to the Galapagos. Plan to show the video in 2 parts on consecutive days. Total viewing time for each part is about 20 minutes. This leaves time for students to answer the questions. Prepare for the video by using the teacher's guide and reading the script. View the first half of the video from beginning to end of Lizards of the Sea. Distribute copies of the student sheet Voyage to the Galapagos. Ask students to answer the first 5 questions. Allow them to work in groups to help each other remember specific events and formulate clear answers to the questions. If they do not have time to complete the questions, they can be assigned as homework. In Session 2, review the remaining parts of the video. Use the teacher's guide to give students a brief overview. Start the segment with mass killers. Have students complete the student sheet Voyage to Galapagos. After they have completed answering the questions, review the questions from the sheet, discussing the questions. Next, use the teacher's guide to see any additional questions that may help students build their understanding. Assign the reading, natural, and unnatural selection. Remember to create some text-dependent questions for students to write responses to. Assess progress by taking a look at the student sheets, reviewing their answers. Use the teacher answer sheet to help determine the quality of the student's answer. Final assessment will be called the final summative exam. This assessment helps to understand whether or not students have attained enough information to explain the major concepts of the unit. Give the final summative exam on the following day. This concludes Investigation 10.